Just to follow up on my previous video on UTXOs, what they are and how to prevent yourself from getting burned with high fees, I suggest you watch that video first, and I'll link to that in the show notes below. But as repetition is the mother of all skill, and the network fees are still very low, what I wanted to do in this video is just demonstrate the UTXO management, the process of consolidating your UTXOs and signing those transactions with the ColdCard and the Keystone 3 Pro. So we'll be doing two transactions, signing with the Keystone 3 Pro and a QR reader, and signing with the ColdCard and the micro SD card. Okay, so just some prerequisites, the things that we're going to need for this tutorial. Okay, we will need the Keystone 3 Pro, which we have right here, Bitcoin only, and the ColdCard. All right, we're going to be using the ColdCard to sign one of the transactions, and I'll be powering my ColdCard with my USB power bar, and we're going to need a card reader, especially an SD card reader, a micro SD card reader. All right, so let's start with the Keystone 3 Pro, and we'll jump right in. All right, guys. So in Sparrow Wallet, what we want to do is I'm going to open up one of my cold storage devices. I'm just going to go to Tools. I'm going to go to File, Open Wallet, and open up the wallet I want to work with. So what I want to do in this tutorial is I'll be consolidating some of my non-KYC UTXOs into one. All right. So what I do in Sparrow, I go to UTXOs, open up that tab. And because I'm a diligent student and I labeled everything, you can see I'm going to select my non-KYC UTXOs. So I'm just going to select them. So command click on the UTXOs you want to consolidate. I think I had another one. Yeah. Okay. So I've got three that I want to consolidate. And before I even do this process, let's jump over to the mempool and just check what the network fees are. And they are currently at 6 sats VB. So 6 sats per virtual byte, which is still very, very low. Yesterday they were around 7, so it's even lower than yesterday. So very good time to do the consolidation when the network fees are low. So again, I've selected the UTXOs that I want to consolidate, and I just hit send selected. All right, guys. So as I explained in the previous video, what we're doing when we are consolidating the UTXOs is we're literally sending them back into our own wallet, the same wallet. Okay. So within the same wallet, I'm going to go and select receive on the receive tab. I'm going to copy my receive address. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to my send and paste this in. So I'm going to paste in this address and I'm going to give it a label. Very important, give it a label. So I'm going to call this non-KYC consolidation. Non-KYC consolidation. And then what I do is I always just double check the last few digits on that address. So we go to receive, double check the last couple of numbers and digits, and then we go back to our send. We can verify that. Okay, so those match. We're good. We've got the label in. Sparrow will automatically set the fee for you at the medium. So it's currently at 6 sats VB, which is perfect. And in the diagram here, you can actually see, so we've got all three of my UTXOs, which are slightly small. But what I want to do is obviously combine all three of these non-KYC UTXOs into one larger UTXO. And the diagram shows you very nicely how that's done. So you got all three coming into one, and then you'll have one main, and then you'll have your fee here. And the fee right now is 0.07%. Okay, so very small price to pay on a day like today, when, as we said, the mempool, it's at 6 VB. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we are going to create the transaction. So we just go over here to hit create. All right, guys, so my first transaction is ready to be signed. So I'm going to be using the Keystone 3 Pro. I'm just going to sign in with my PIN off camera. Okay, and if you have a Keystone 3 Pro, you should have, this is Bitcoin only. You should have a screen that looks something like this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit finalize for signing. And because I'm using the Keystone 3 Pro, I'm going to say show QR code. And it pulls up this animated QR code. And then on my Keystone 3 Pro, I just hit scan. And I back it up a little. And right away, it pulls up the information and it shows me my transaction, which you should definitely verify. And just make sure that it's going to the correct address that we set. Okay. So once that's done, we just slide over and then enter the PIN again. Okay, and now what we need to do is we actually need to click the scan QR code, because I need to scan the QR code that is currently on the Keystone 3 Pro. So my camera will open up and I'm just gonna sense that, scan it. All right, so now it's scanned. The signatures have been signed by the Keystone 3 Pro. And what I just need to do now is just broadcast this to the network. So I'm gonna hit broadcast. And that goes. And that transaction is broadcasting. And right away, because I'm sending it to myself, I get this little notification from Sparrow that the funds are in the mempool coming back into the wallet. And if I just click into my transactions, I will see there's a small fee here in the first transaction that's unconfirmed. That is the fee that we are paying. And if I go into my UTXOs, you will see that the UTXOs here, it's unconfirmed, but it's coming in and my label is there as the non-KYC. All right, so that will confirm. And in the meantime, what we can do is we can do the same process, but using the ColdCard. All right, guys, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do a transaction where we sign with our ColdCard. So I'm just going to set up my ColdCard. I'm going to plug it in to the USB power bar. And we'll do the same thing, but now we'll sign with the with the ColdCard. So let's just see, can you see that? Power it up. I'm going to enter my PIN. And then always double check those recognize these words. Say yes, and then enter the last section of the PIN. Okay, so once you're signed into your ColdCard, you should have the screen that's at the top. It says ready to sign. So it's just going to start up. And then I'm not sure if you can read that, but it says ready to sign. All right, so now what we'll do is we'll jump back into Sparrow. We'll set up the transaction, and then we'll sign it using the SD card and the ColdCard. So in Sparrow, I'm going to just open up the ColdCard wallet of mine. I'm going to go to Open Wallet and open up my ColdCard. Okay, and that's going to pull up my ColdCard. And what I want to do is go into my UTXO tab at the bottom there. And I'm going to select, I have a couple of UTXOs here, which I'm going to just consolidate into one. And I'm going to, again, just command click all the UTXOs you want to consolidate. I'm actually going to consolidate that guy. All right. So again, I've made my selection. And what I can do is just go to my receive tab, because I'm sending these, the consolidation is going to be done within the same wallet. So I'm basically sending these UTXOs back to myself, but as one UTXO. So I'm just going to go to receive. I'm going to select, copy the address, making note of the last couple of numbers and letters. And then I'm going to go back to the UTXO tab. All right. And then once I have the UTXOs that I want to do, I just hit send selected. All right, and now I'm paying 2. I'm going to paste in my receive address, which is from my own wallet. So just to double check, I just click in the receive tab and the address is matched 100%. So back into the send, I'm going to give this a label. Always give it a label. I'm going to call this consolidation. Consolidation. All right. So I have 5 UTXOs, which are going to be consolidated. Just going to check the mempool. Mempool is up a little bit. It's at 7 sats VB. Okay. So you can play around here with the fee that you want to pay. depending on if you want it fast or slow in terms of priority, and also how much you want to spend. To be honest, I'm just going to keep it at around 7 sats, and we'll go from there. And in the diagram, another reason why I love Sparrow, it shows you exactly what's going on. So you have all your UTXOs that you are going to consolidate into one, and then you have your final UTXO plus the fee, and the fee right now is at 0.12%. So once that is done, we are ready to create the transaction. Okay, so I just go down to the bottom and I hit create transaction. And again, it shows you the full diagram of what's going on in your transaction. And then it says finalize transaction for signing. Okay, so to do this, we're going to use the cold card. We're going to do a partly signed transaction on Sparrow. We're going to save that to the SD card, which is on our computer. So we're going to save that partly signed transaction to the SD card, and then we will put it into the cold card, sign it with the cold card, and then bring it back in as a signed transaction, and then broadcast to the network. Now the transaction is ready for signing. We are going to sign this and save it to the SD card. So I'm just going to click there. I'm going to say save transaction, and I'm going to tell it to save it to the SD card. Okay. And so you'll notice it's a PSBT, so partly signed transaction. I'm going to save that, and let's just double check in the Finder. There it is there. So my file is there, consolidation PSBT. Now all I do is eject the SD card, and we will put that into the cold card. So we eject that, and then grab the SD card, and we will place that into the cold card. So we can see that, and it is spring loaded, so just give it a shove. And then what we want to do now is, it's on signed transaction. We just say yes, reading, validating, okay to send. Okay, so it's asking me, is it okay to send the amount of Bitcoin to, and just scroll through that, make sure it's the right amount and it's going to the right address. Network fee tells you there's 5 UTXOs with 1 output. Okay, and the chargeback change address. Okay, and it's going to that address, which is correct. And all we've got to do is scroll to the bottom and press OK to approve and sign. Okay, so we just hit OK to approve and sign. I hope this is focused. So we sign that. So the transaction is now being signed in the cold card. Okay, saving. PSD is signed, updated. And what we do is just go through this. Consolidation, signature, finalized transaction, consolidation. Okay, that's the name I gave it. And we just go to the end. Okay, so all we do now is we take the SD card out and we place it into our card reader once again. Put that in. Just let's make sure that it's there. Okay, so all we do now is we say load transaction. Okay, in Sparrow we say load transaction. It says from where, and what we want to do is load the signed PSBT. So the partly signed transaction, which has now been signed. Open that. Okay, so the signature is good, and all we do now is we just broadcast this to the network. But just before, just want to show you, you've got your UTXOs over here, and you're consolidating them into the one UTXO with your fee, which is there. Okay, so we hit broadcast, and that'll go off to the blockchain. And there she goes. And because I'm sending it back to myself, the transaction is coming back in. You can see what's in the mempool. And if we go back into our UTXO tabs, we will see that there's an unconfirmed spendable amount coming in. And again, the transaction will show the fee that we just paid. So the fee just So the fee did jump up slightly, but again, it's a good time to consolidate when the fees are low. You don't want to be doing this when the network fees are high. And guys, that's essentially how you consolidate UTXOs using a cold card, signing with the SD card. All right, guys, so just to come back, we have one confirmation on that consolidation that we were doing. In the transactions tab, you see there's one confirmation. And then in my UTXOs, if I just go back into it and I find it, here it is here. The UTXO that I just did, it's received. So that is basically how you do the consolidation on the cold card. So very easy, but again, when you do these consolidations, just keep an eye on the mempool, because when the fees are low, it's a great time to do it. But obviously, when the fees are high, that's not when you want to be doing consolidations. So that's about it, guys. I'll wrap it up there. Definitely give us a follow and a like, and definitely a lot more in the pipeline. So stay tuned.